These are all 4 parts of Apocalypse of the Frost. I made it on Wattpad if you want to go and check it out. So yeah, let's just begin.
Deku narrating. 4 years ago the Earth went back to the Ice Age. Temperatures dropped to minus 100 degrees Celsius. We see Deku wearing thick warm clothes while wrapped in a blanket on the couch in his apartment. A knock is heard on his door and he checks through the Pico hole to see Ochako standing there shivering. I open the door slightly, then an explosion blows the door off its hinges, sending me flying backwards into the wall. I see a few figures wearing warm clothing walk in and start looting my food and stack it in a pile in the living room. Shoji, what about the Deku? It would be a waste to just let him die. Mineta, we could eat him. Everybody stops and looks at each other before all start agreeing with Mineta cutting Deku up and hanging out his body parts to eat. Todoroki, thanks Deku for making me want to use my fire, otherwise we would have been dead when this thing hit. That's when an icicle pierces Deku's heart. With Todoroki holding his hand out, Deku closes his eyes and see if he's in a black void. Deku wakes up in his bed looking around at his limbs still intact. He reaches for his phone and Deku sees he was reborn 6 months before the apocalypse. Deku, I swear, I'm going to make all of you pay. Right, I'm going to need supplies and weapons, also a safer apartment than this place. A blue flash sparks in Deku's eye and he appears inside of a black void. Deku's eyes widen, but then he gets a fort. He spends the next 2 minutes trying to figure out how to get out. He realizes he can create a portal in and out of this storage space, and whatever he puts in time stops for it. Deku heads out to a fancy restaurant and blows a bunch on a 5-course meal. We see Ochako and Tsuyu watching Deku eat at a 5-star restaurant. Tsuyu, hey, it looks like a quirkless classmate is actually a secret millionaire. Ochako, I can't wait to get my hands on his money when he wants to go out with me. Tsuyu, so it hasn't even tried floating with you yet. Deku finishes his meal and heads out and bumps into the two of them. Tsuyu and Ochako walk up to him and start getting a little flirty. Deku reaches into his pocket and pulls out a black and green bank card. Deku, hey, want to go shopping? Deku's thoughts. This morning I downloaded a few hundred loan shark apps and my bank account's sitting at a good 5 billion. I can use these girls for free labor. They head to the mall. Deku taxes them to different shops and buys a bunch of food and other supplies. They head back to Deku's apartment. Ochako, you know you owe us dinner for doing all this for you. Tsuyu, be nice Ochako. Deku closes the door before transporting all of the food and supplies into his storage space. Deku, I spent all my life trying to get into UA, but now. Deku calls UA's principal. Nezu, hello, Deku, I'm calling to say I'm dropping out of UA. Nezu, you barely made it past the first day. May I know why you are deciding to dropping out? Deku, first day taught me that you won't be able to make it in the hero world of work, so I won't be going to UA anymore. Nezu, it's too bad, but I understand. I will let your teacher know that you won't be attending anymore. Well, Izuku, take care. Deku, take care. Nezu, take care. Deku hangs up and leans back in his seat. Deku starts searching for a better apartment and he then finds a penthouse apartment that is getting sold for 50 million. He decides to take a look at the apartment himself. Before Deku deciding to purchase it, he heads out and meets up with a tall, elegant woman wearing a business suit. They head up the apartment to see it's just a basic one, but when they reach the top floor the elevator opens up to a huge double door. Deku's thoughts. Elevator might make it a bit hard to defend, but if I get some reinforcing materials I could reinforce the walls, floor and ceiling. The house seller pushes open the double doors to reveal a huge open room with an indoors pool. They walk around to the kitchen to see it's a huge kitchen with a fridge like the ones they have in restaurants. They continue to walk around, then they stand by the front door. House seller. So yeah, that's the apartment. So what are your thoughts on it? Deku, may I have an exact number of rooms since I kind of lost count? House seller. Of course. On the second floor there is 8 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and on the first floor 1 kitchen, an indoor pool, a balcony on each floor overlooking the north and south side the living room. Deku, okay. House seller, so will you be buying or? Deku, I'll be paying half in advance, under the rest in 7 months. House seller, we would need something as collateral if you are doing a payment in advance. Deku pulled out the lease to his old house and she checks over it before calling one of her superiors. She talks for the next 5 minutes then hangs up. She looks at Deku, then nods and takes the lease. She hands Deku the keys and then Deku sits down looking over the city. Deku, USJ attack is tomorrow. My intervene. Hold on with this work. Deku closes both of his eyes then opens a green portal to his storage space. He then concentrate on making a second portal right behind the first. He steps through and enter on the second floor balcony. Deku, So as long as one portal's open and I know the exact location I want the second I can somewhat teleport. A small system screen fuzzes in front of him. System. Tutorial stage completed. System has now been activated. Skill teleportation. Open a portal to a location you see in your mind. Cooldown 2 minutes. Skill void storage. Store non-living items in there that will be frozen in time. Skill predator. When kill a quirked person or gifted person you will gain their quirk or gift in the form of a crystal the size of a golf ball. Consumes the crystal to gain their abilities. Strength 3. Agility 2. Perception 5. Intelligence 10. Vitality 5. Deku. So the tutorial stage ended as soon as I got me a new place. Good to know. System. 2 new quests found. Quest 1 Dragon's Defense. Your new apartment is big enough to turn your apartment into a fortress. Reward. Skill Dragons. Nest. A place is your nest. Any place you mark as a nest you'll have 360-degree vision. No blind spots. Also be notified if anyone steps foot on your nest. Skill Numb the pain. You have decided enough is enough. Your emotion have been disabled and you have no pain receptors. Deku. Okay. System Quest 2 Revenge. Appear at the USJ and kill 3 students. Reward 8 stat point. Deku closes his eyes and opens a portal. He steps through and is standing on the roof of the USJ. He looks around to see his completely dark. Deku puts his hand on one of the glass in the center and stores it. The glass disappears without setting off any alarms. Deku teleports back home before pulling out his phone and calling a security company and books an appointment to meet the head tomorrow morning. The next day Deku is sat in the office with the head of the security company, Titanium Dragon. Titanium Dragon head. So what brings you to Titanium Dragon this morning? Deku. Well, I have this new apartment and I'm wondering how secure could we make it? Titanium Dragon head. I'm going to need to see the layout of the building in person. They both head back to Deku's apartment. They decide to take the stairs. She scouts every floor and notices that the concrete of the building is reinforced by at least 3 different quirks. They finally get to the top floor as she notices that the only way in and out of the room is with the elevator. When she walks up she notices that the apartment is huge, which means there's going to need to be a lot of cameras. After they walk around for an hour they sit down in the living room. Titanium Dragon head. The building's being reinforced so there's nothing much to do that but this floor itself. The real question is how secure you going for. We have 3 plans, 4 if we count the custom. Deku. I want complete 360 no blind spot security. Titanium Dragon head. Of course, but I will need a payment before we start working for the materials since I will need to also use some quirk resistant materials. But you are going to have to pick between heat resistant, meaning the hotter it gets the stronger it gets, but with the temperatures 1 minute could be strong, next minute could be weak, and then it's just the opposite with the cold one. Deku. And how long would the construction take? Titanium Dragon head. In total, if we take in the account of the time to get the materials, the quirks that I have on hand. In total we're talking around 30 to 35 days. Deku. And payment? Titanium Dragon head. Well, we'll need 2.5 million upfront, then another 2.5 million after it's completed. Deku. Okay. Deku hangs over the cash and heads out. When no one's looking he teleports on top of the USJ. He's wearing a full black trench coat with a black face mask. He puts his hood up and his black high heels, making it seem like he's the final boss. Deku sees all of Class 1A Splitter. Deku opens a portal and heads to the natural disaster zone. He stands on top of a cliff. A female villain licks her lips and Deku turns around. He sees she has small bat wings on her back and she wears a dominatrix outfit. Deku just raises an eyebrow. He pulls out a knife from his storage space and stabs a portal right next to him, slightly the girl's throat. Before she could say anything, Deku plunges the knife straight in her throat, killing her. Deku pulls out a black orb from his storage space and looks at it. System. Item Quirked Orb. Quirk type Succubus. Do anything a real succubus can do. Deku. Interesting quirk. Deku puts the orb in his mouth, closes his eyes and crushes it. He feels his body changes as 2 small bat-like wings appear on his back and his hair turns a lighter shade of green. He closes his eyes before the system window appears in front of him. System. New quirk Succubus. Be able to create lust-based illusions and be able to put a succubus mark on somebody, making them a complete toy to your will. Deku sees Momojiro and Denki fighting some villains. He just raises an eyebrow before walking up to them. One of the villains look at him with confusion, but he simply slices the villain's throat. All of their eyes widen as they never decides to attack, but Deku opens his storage space. As the villain's hand goes into it, he closes the portal, cutting it off, and grabbed his knife and runs it into the villain's throat. He kills the rest of the villains and is about to walk off, but Denki grabs his shoulder right in the eye. He looks at the 2 girls on their knees shaking in fear. Deku sees that they have a few scratches on them. He reaches into his void and pulls out a few bandages. He passes passes them the bandages before walking off. They look at him confused, but under the mask he's smiling. He walks to the center and sees Aizawa getting his head smashed against the floor by the Nomu. The Nomu locks eyes with him, then rushes towards him. It's about to throw a punch, but Deku opens the void right where its fish would land and its fist goes into the system. He then cuts its armor in an instant before it could regenerate. Deku stabs it in the brain. It screams out, but Deku pulls out a second knife and repeatedly stops it in the brain. It completely stopped before falling face first onto the ground, Deku doing a backflip to get off it. They all look at him, but then an explosion rings out as Deku slowly turns around, seeing Katsuki Bakugo and Eijiro Kirishima. They both rush at Deku. Deku dodges both of their attacks, spins around and axe kicks Kirishima, sending him hitting the ground before his face could hit the floor. Deku opens a portal where his head would land and closes it, killing him instantly. Deku opens another portal as the other half of Kirishima face falls out and hits the ground. A muscular villain covered in black fur with two huge box ears with a fox tail. He walks up to Deku and puts his arm over his shoulder. Before anything could be said, Deku rams his knife towards him. The wolf villains jumps back out of the pure instincts but have a smile. Carnage. You're a face to run, kid. My villain name is Carnage. Deku. Call me Blizzard. Carnage. Well, I mainly came here because there are some promising time for a fight, but yeah, this is just shit. Deku. One-on-one to the death. Carnage. That's my kind of fight. Deku and Carnage rush at each other. Deku steps one of Carnage's attacks. That's when Carnage feels something cold in his stomach and looks down. He sees it, Deku's portal with it, a knife sticking out. He is about to step back, then something slices his throat and he just smiles before hitting the ground dead. That's when all of his animal features start to disappearing. A blue sparkly laser shoots straight towards Deku. Before the attack could hit Deku, he instinctively opened a portal and the laser flies into it. Deku closes the portal and reopened it in the same spots. The blue laser flies out of it, being returned to Aoyama, blasting him right through the stomach. Deku looks towards where the laser came from but then shrugs. Stop. An explosion happens as the doors of the USJ explode off. Deku rolls his eyes and then opens a portal and steps through. He stands on the roof and watches All Might collect all the villains in one spot. Unconscious, Deku sits down with his legs crossed and wait for one of them to make a move. That's why Deku opens a portal right behind the pile of unconscious villains. He won't swim. Opened a portal right beneath them. The pile of 70-odd villains fall in. Deku opens a different portal and steps through. He sits on top of the USJ watching everybody panic. That's when he sees the body of Yuga Aoyama, Denki Kaminari and Eijiro Kirishima. Rolls his eyes before taking a step into his portal, appearing outside of UA in casual clothes. System. Quest 2 completed. 8 stat points claim. Deku continues to walk around and realizes he needs a place to stay for the next few weeks. Deku decides to hang to his aunt's house. He walks the door and knocks on. Go opens to reveal a 5 feet 7 inches woman with spiky blonde hair and red eyes. She looks like she's in her early 20s and her expression looks tired but annoyed. When she sees Deku, her expression softens up. Mitsuki. Oh hey Izuku, I wasn't expecting you to come here. Since you had that whole falling out with my son. Deku. Sorry if this is going to be a pain, but see, I'm currently getting my new house renovated and I need a place to stay. Mitsuki. Well, I know you've been on your own since your father went to America and he's reluctantly sending you money every so often. And Inko sudden passing a few years ago and just surprising it moved with us. Deku. I didn't want to be a barber. Mitsuki. In fact, it would have been nice having somebody who ain't a brat in the house. They both walk and sit on the couch and chat for hours. Katsuki Bakugo enters the house screaming. He walks into the living room expecting it just to see Mitsuki sat there doing nothing like usual, but then his eyes meet a Deku. Katsuki. What is he doing here? Mitsuki. Simple, you staying with us for a few weeks while his new apartment gets sorted. Deku continues to scroll on his phone and then raises an eyebrow. He then grabs the TV remote and pulls up a video of the USJ. They both stop arguing and look at Deku. Then Deku just points towards the TV. It shows the fight from different camera angles between Blizzard and the rest of the hero course. Deku. Well, somebody got manhandled. Mitsuki. Okay, now that's just nasty. I don't know. Somebody can manhandle the so-called strongest. Deku. And by the looks of it, I won't be seeing you anytime soon since you'll be going into some dorms. Katsuki get ready to throw an explosion but then puts his hand down, realizing Deku isn't worth it anymore. He starts packing and getting ready to go to the dorms. Deku leans back in his seat, a cocky grin on his face. Mitsuki is slightly chuckling but then sorts of south out. She looks towards Deku, slightly thankful for not asking to deal with that today. You can continue talking for a few hours. Then Katsuki just walks down. It glazes at them both before walking off. That's when Mitsuki leans forward, an intense glare on her face. Mitsuki. So what's the real reason you decided to purchase the equivalent of a small mansion? And don't lie to me, I'm the one who keeps knowing your bank account. Deku. Fuck. What I'm about to tell you cannot leave this house. Mitsuki. As long as you tell nothing but the truth to me, because otherwise I'm gonna get a little noise. Deku. Well, it started 6 years ago. Or 5 months in the future. Temperatures are going to drop drastically. Deku spans the next 4 hours explaining everything but leaving out the part about him being blizzard. She listens intently for expression never changing but some worry flashing in her eyes. After Deku finishes, he leans back and lets out a small sigh. Deku. So that's how we got to today. Mitsuki stands up and heads to the coat rack and grabs a jacket. Deku looks at her confused. Deku. What are you doing? Mitsuki. We're heading to some clothing stores. That owed me favors for doing a fashion shoot. Am I getting some clothing we need? Deku strokes and they head out. They purchased a few cold-resistant clothing that are made for people with very specific body temperatures. Over the next few weeks, Deku and Mitsuki get along and are having a little bit of fun. They sat in the living room having a drink of alcohol. Mitsuki. You know, you're kind of cute. Right, she says while walking towards him still completely drunk. Mitsuki. Being a single mom, you get some not-so-innocent urges. She leans in close to Deku and bites his ear. Deku is sat there completely confused before a system window appears in front of him. System. Quest: tame the lioness Mitsuki. Bakugo is drunk. Tame her by mating her. During this quest you will not be able to get her pregnant. Reward: 2 random rewards. Mitsuki. I'm older, but would you still mind? Deku put his hand behind her head and pulls her in close and kisses her passionately. Her eyes widen for a second before smiling and closing her eyes, then pulling away, saliva dripping from her mouth. She looks at Deku, her eyes wide. Mitsuki. Holy shit, I didn't know you could kiss like that. Deku. Trust me and I'm done. You'll know what true satisfaction feels like. Mitsuki goes on her knees and starts removing Deku's belt and then slowly opens his pants, her eyes never leaving his. She looks down and starts stroking Deku's dick. After a minute of stroking it, she looks back down at it, under eyes widen at the 10-inch dick. She slowly opens her mouth and slowly puts his dick in her mouth, but it's choking when it gets all the way in. She slowly moves her head up and down. She starts to move her head faster and faster, then Deku grabs the back of her head and slams it down on his dick. Mitsuki's eyes widen as she's trying not to choke. With how much cum is going down her throat after 10 seconds of Deku coming in her mouth. Mitsuki hauls her head back while coughing, a little streams of still coming out of cum still coming out of Deku's dick. Mitsuki slowly starts swallowing it. Halfway through she tries not to choke. She stand up and slowly removes the pants. Deku pushes her down onto the table. Bright her likes and without warning rams his dick straight into her vagina. Mitsuki lets out a moan of pleasure. She then grabs one of Deku's hands and puts it on her left boob while she fondles the other one. Deku start moving his hips backwards and forwards in a rhythm. Deku grabs Mitsuki's nip and squeezes it. She screams in ecstasy as a small bit of white liquid comes out of her nipples. Mitsuki raises an eyebrow at this, but Deku continues to move his hips and puts his mouth on her nipple whilst sucking it. Deku pulls his dick out till it's just the tip in and then slams it fully in before coming inside Mitsuki. She lies on the table barely staying conscious and her legs fall to the ground. Mitsuki. Where did you learn to do that? Deku. Felt natural. Mitsuki. Well, can you carry me to my bed? Deku picture up bridal style and carries her into a bedroom. Deku gives her a quick kiss on the forehead before walking out the room and turning off the light. She pulls asleep almost instantly and Deku heads outside and stands on the roof. System. Quest: team at the lioness. Complete reward. First reward: shop function. Buy it and sell items until apocalypse begins. Supplies will be off the shop. Reward. Second reward: flash step, teleports instantly 100 meters in any direction. Space must be empty. 60 seconds cooldown. Quirk: succubus has evolved into Dominion Succubus. You can now put a succubus mark on 2 people and every time you have sex with a new person your stats will increase by 1. Deku. Open stats. System. Strength 4, Agility 3, Perception 6, Intelligence 11, Vitality 6, 8 stat points. Deku. Put 2 in Strength, 3 in Agility, 1 in Perception, 1 in Intelligence and 1 in Vitality. System. Strength 6, Agility 6, Perception 7, Intelligence 12, Vitality 7, 0 stat points. Deku. The world has given me a second chance. He lets out a sigh. I don't know what the true purpose of this second chance is, but I'm going to use it. Deku steps into his storage space and sees all the villains' bodies. He kills them all, not even flinching. In the end he has a bunch of quirked crystals. He sells most of them in the shop. He holds 8 different crystals. System. Quirk Crystal 1. Carnage. Wolf instincts will be tripled, strength doubled and gain wolf features. Body's hair will be twice as soft. Quirk Crystal 2. Hardening. Harden your body to a stone-like material, uses stamina. Quirk Crystal 3. Electrical Jam. Distort any electrical device in a set area. You will not pop up on any electrical devices. Quick Crystal 4. Electrical Discharge. Be able to discharge electricity from your body. Quick Crystal 5. Regeneration. Your body natural regeneration will be tripled and you'll be able to regrow back limbs in a week. Quirk Crystal 6. Pinpoint mark somebody I know their exact location 24/7. Come back up to 5 people. Quirk Crystal 7. Dominator's Touch. Create a hand of shadows that is linked to your regular hand's shadow hand could be anywhere between 1 to 6 times bigger than the user's hand. Quirk Crystal 8. Creation. Create any weapons from your body. Drawback is dry eyes, headaches, trouble sleeping for 24 hours. Deku. Out of all the quirks these ones stand out the best. Creation group would be handy, just the drawbacks and it can only make weapons. Deku grabs the creation quirked crystal and put it in his mouth. He then crushes it and feels it a little bit of difference in his body. He closes his eyes and concentrates. When he opens it, small cuts appear on his hand and blood flows aft points, forming a high-powered sniper rifle with a suppressor and scope. He closes his eyes for a few seconds after creating the sniper. Deku. There's no point having more than what's necessary for the minutes. Deku steps out of his storage space, his eyes narrowed in concentration. He heads to the computer in Mitsuki's room. He sees her still sleeping and then pulls up a bunch of forms about heroes. He finds one on Lady Nagant. He sees she's being held in Tartarus. He hears groaning behind him and he quickly closes the tab. He turns around to see Mitsuki rubbing her eyes and looking at him. Mitsuki. How long was I out? Deku. Around 30 minutes. Mitsuki. I want to share a bed tonight. Deku strokes and then claims into bed with her. His phone pings in the morning and he checks it to see his apartment has been completed as he sees the rewards complete. System. Quest 1 completed. Dragon's Defense. Your new apartment is big enough to turn your apartment into a fortress. Reward claimed. Skill. Dragons. Nest. A place is your nest. Any place you mark as a nest you'll have 360-degree vision, no blind spots. Also be notified if anyone steps foot on your nest. Skill. Numb the pain. You have decided enough is enough. Your emotion have been disabled and you have no pain receptors. Deku sneaks out and teleports to his apartment. He enters the elevator and sees the head of Titanium Dragon waiting for him. They both sit in the living room of his apartment and he sees not much has changed. Deku. Right, I need to know everything you've done. Titanium Dragon head. Where to begin? To start off, all the walls are triple reinforced with a layer of titanium, the cold resistant metal, and a thermal gel that will keep the heat inside the building 24/7. There are 18 cameras in the apartment itself are connected to a laptop in the master bedroom. All doors are reinforced with the same materials as the strongest prison in the whole of Japan. There are 30 other motion tracking cameras throughout the building. If even a fly moves in this building you will know. Windows are triple reinforced to withstand up to at least 6 maxed out All Might's punches. We've installed solar panels underneath a layer of protection material on the ceiling so it will be hard for the power to go out. Plus there are 3 emergency generators in the one of the bedrooms. Front door is reinforced with the same materials as the rest of the doors, only with a bank vault door in the middle. Your apartment also runs on its own heating, meaning even if the gas in the building stops working your apartment will still be warm. Also we refitted your pool with a water filter so it never need cleaning and you can now adjust its temperature. And the building has a lockdown function where 3 inches thick metal sheets will cover all the doors and windows, with the keypads being in specific spots in every room. Deku. And the total? Titanium Dragon head. Well, you did pay us in advance so we can delay the payment up to 4 to 5 months, but before then you'd have to pay US 200 million. Deku. Okay, that works for me. Deku signs a contract saying he'll pay the total amount. Beef for the 5 months have ended. The Titanium Dragon head nods and then leaves the apartment. She also gives Deku the schematics to the building where all the security are placed. Deku crosses his legs and his eyes narrowing. Deku. 4 months till the apocalypse. Set the Dragon Nest apartment. Deku closes his eyes and feels the surroundings. He noticed he can sense everything in his apartment from the slightest wind to even himself. Deku. Now I need more weapons, medics, and more food. Right now I could probably last at least 3 months before starving, and not even that. If I go with that idea. That's when Deku's phone rings and he sees it's Mitsuki calling him. Mitsuki. So where are you? Because I woke up this morning and you weren't there. Deku. Needed to sort out the final touches on my apartment. Mitsuki. My only got under 4 months left. Deku. Sorry, my apartment was done and I needed to sort out a few things. Mitsuki. Oh, Deku. Anyway, I still got a few stuff to sort out, so just come over whenever you want. Deku hangs up before calling a few different companies, ordering tons of fresh water and expensive foods. He checks his balance to see he's got just under $1 billion left. Deku. Next up, weapons. Deku heads out wearing his villain outfit. He enters the back roads and ends up in a black market. Deku walks around to see weapons, drugs, and other kinds of illegal items. He sees a man dressed in casual clothes but has a few guns for sale. He stands in front of the vendor, his eyes never leaving the weapons. He picks up a black Desert Eagle and sees it's slightly used. Gun vendor. That's a nice one, a pre-quirk Desert Eagle. Deku. Looks like it's seen better days, so it's off by 2 mm, which could throw off your aim nozzle's damage, which means high chance of the gun not even shooting straight. Gun vendor. Do you know your firearms? Deku. I know what I know. Give you 10K for it. Gun vendor. Hold on. Hold on. It's worth way more than that. Deku. It feels like brand new thing, yes. But this thing's definitely seen better days. The gun vendor gets a good look at Deku before his eyes widens, expression is slightly. Gun vendor. Hold on, you're Blizzard, the man who killed 3 US students. Deku. Yeah, I am. Gun vendor. How about a deal, 30K and I throw in a MK17 and 1000 rounds for each. Deku. Whatever. Deku also purchases a few attachments for the guns, then notices a military jeep that has been spray painted black and he just raises an eyebrow. Deku. Old military jeep. Gun vendor. Yeah, it was complete scrap, but I managed to fix it up. Deku. How much? Gun vendor. Let's go for 10K. Deku shrugs, then hands him the cash, not even batting again. The vendor hands over the key. Deku opens a portal right beneath the truck, storing it in his inventory. He continues to look around the black market for any potential equipment. He finds nothing worth his time and leaves the black market. Tekken notices it's getting late, so he teleports back to his apartment. He then hears a knock on the door and sees Mitsuki with a few bags and suitcases. Deku. So you're moving in? Mitsuki. Well, if you're offering. Deku helps her bring her bags in. Mitsuki looks around surprised. Deku gives Heart a tour and brings her to her room. Deku. So yeah, this is your room. Mitsuki. Thanks, because if it was my brat in your shoes, he would have left me to die. Deku. It's no problem. I will be doing some last-minute supply shopping. Mitsuki. Okay, just don't be back really late. By the way, have you gone contact with Issei and Marinette? Deku stops and his face goes completely pale. Deku. Well, I won't be back for a few weeks. But I will be having a huge delivery of food and that on its way. Just quickly shoot me a message when it's here. Fridge is stocked for a few weeks. Mitsuki. Yeah. Just make sure you don't do something stupid. Deku heads to the elevator and presses the bottom floor before the elevator could go down a few floors. Deku opens a portal and teleports to a small town. He sees a bunch of people walking towards schools. Deku stands on top of a rooftop in casual clothing. He closes his eyes, taking gain the fresh air before hopping off the roof and walking. He stands on a bridge, one of his foot behind him on the wall. That's when he sees a kid with short messy brown hair with brown eyes. He's wearing white and blue trainers, black pants and a school uniform's jacket. He wears a red t-shirt underneath and his eyes lock with Deku's. He walks up to Deku and holds his hand out in a handshake motion. Deku slaps his hand and then they both fist bump before grabbing each other's arms in an arm wrestle motion. Deku. Issei, how you been? Issei. Well, since you're here, that means over something really good going on in your life, or we have an issue. Deku shakes his head and they both jump off of the bridge and to sit under it. Deku then explains everything from him getting reincarnated to his past self and him becoming Blizzard. Issei. Surprise, you almost forget about us, but the fact that you have a practically pissed off the angry blonde fucking Pomeranian is just icing on the cake. So how long? Deku. 4 months. Issei. That's not much, but at the same time it is a lot. Let's go and get her before we make any further plans. Deku. What about your classes? Issei. Well, in the first place I only went to that school because of the checks. That the world's going sideways, I have plenty of time for that. Deku shrugs and opens a portal to Paris. They both stand underneath the Eiffel Tower. They walk around Paris trying to find their way around, but then they see a car dealership. Issei. How much do you have? Deku. Around just over 5 million in the UK. They both see 2 Lambos that stand out. One is bright red with green tinted windows with a black dragon spray painted onto it. Decor waltz towards the second Lambo that gets his eyes on a black Lambo with green highlights and green rims. That's when one of the car dealers comes out and sells it to them. Deku sorts it out, so pays 30K for the both and have to pay the rest before 5 months. They get handed the keys and drive to college. Françoise Dupont the pull up outside. Deku reaches into his void and pulls out some art supplies. Issei. So we're going to give it a custom paint job. Deku. You know it. Deku and Issei start drawing and spray painting their cars. After a few hours, Issei has drawn a bunch of smaller dragons and adds a black flame pattern from the early existing dragon. Deku. How strong on the bonnet, a watch head with hourglass sheep symbol in the middle that is bright green with a gray circle around it. That's when they hear the bell from the school and they both stand right next to the car. A bunch of teenagers walk out of the school. Deku notices a familiar blue hair. He puts his thumb and the index finger in his mouth and then whistles. The blue head girl with blue eyes and gray jacket, white t-shirt and pink trousers And a brown hair girl with brown eyes, black glasses, blue jeans, a orange checkered shirt and black and white shoes stop and then turn towards them. The blue head girl rushes towards them, trips halfway but catches her in a hug. Marinette. Izuku, what brings you to Paris? Issei. Where am I, top liver? Marinette just raises her middle finger at Issei. That's when the brown head girl walks over and looks between them confused. Aaliyah. Hey Marinette, do you know these people? Marinette. It's complicated. Right, introductions. Aaliyah, this is Izuku and Issei, childhood friends like siblings. Deku. Oh, so you're the one who runs the lady blog. Anyway Marinette, we got some things to sort out, so we're going for a drive. You coming? Marinette. Why not? Aaliyah, you can hop in with Issei. She says. Well, climbing into Deku's Lambo, they all start driving around and at a normal speed. That's where Marinette's eyes narrow before looking at Deku. Marinette. So what's the situation? Deku explains everything like he did with Issei. Marinette listening intensely. After around an hour Deku finishes, since he gives her the shorter version but still packed with information. Marinette. Shit, so we have just under 4 months. Great. Deku. Sorry, I was going to come to you sooner but I needed a repair on my end. Meredith. I'm not mad or anything, I would have done the same thing. So what has steps forward? Deku. It could go one of two ways. One, you stay in Paris and set up over here. Marinette. But here's a little more strict on the quirkless rules. It isn't like the one in Japan where as soon as you turn 12 you're fully grown adult. Shit. Deku. All you move to Japan, we find you an essay, a close-up place, and then you just do what I did. Marinette. So what's your plan for the backstabbers? Deku. Let's just say, a few of them are going to be useful. Marinette. I ain't going into this powerless even though I do have the miraculous. Deku. Hunter, a black hob the size of a golf ball. Deku. Put it in your mouth then crush it. Marinette does so before feeling something different, but it feels like it belongs there. Deku. That's one as ruler's touch. Create a hand of shadow that could be between 1 to 6 times the size of your hand, but it is linked to your actual hand, so you will need to move that, but as long as you can see you can create the hand. Marinette. Well, could we stop at somebody's hotels and Saint pick somebody up? Marinette points to the left and Deku drifts the car to the last and flaws it, pulling up outside of a big hotel, and Deku just raises an eyebrow. They enter to see a girl with long blonde hair, a pink section in the front, wearing a black leather jacket, a white t-shirt with a pink flower with yellow pants and colorful shoes. She walks up to Marinette and hugs her. Marinette. Izuku, this is Zoe. Zoe. Oh, you're Marinette. Somewhat of a sibling. Deku. Yeah, you might want to call your fiancé. Zoe. Wait, she's engaged. Marinette. It's complicated. Zoe. So what is he like? Deku leans back onto the wall trying not to burst out laughing. Marinette's face goes slightly pale and she shakes her head. Deku. Sometimes just, well, Marinette can't stand boys. I mean, she used to vomit at the idea of dating one. Zoe. But I've seen her trying to flirt with Adrian. Deku. Yeah, I know she can tolerate him and that's about it. Put the both of them in a room for more than an hour. Yeah, he won't be doing anything anytime soon. Marinette. Come on as you can. I came to Paris since no one knew about. Well, that. Deku casually ruffles her hair. She shakes her head before going to the waiting area and sitting down. We have to follow him, but Marinette still being a little embarrassed and annoyed. Marinette. Anyway, the reason why we're here is because. Is it good? Can I give her the rundown? Deku. Simple terms, an apocalypse is coming and she wants to know if you could sort her an easy out in apartment in Japan. Zoe. My mother does have a few connections in Japan. There might be able to get hold of them and get you to an apartment, but what's in it for me? Deku. You can move in with Marinette. Zoe. I'll have the apartment sorted by tomorrow. She pulls out her phone. He walks to the other side of the reception hall, pulls out his phone and pulls out a pair of Bluetooth earphones and put one in his ear and hands one to Marinette. Calls a contact labeled Wednesday. After little while the phone answers. Wednesday. Izuku. Why you calling me? Deku. I'm here with Marinette. Wednesday. Oh hey Enid. You still never answered my question. Deku. Well, to put simply, Marinette is getting a place in Japan. Marinette. And I'm wondering, are we moving in together like back up Nevermore? Wednesday hands up and they both look at each other confused. Wednesday's text. Thing here, she's currently packing. Deku's text. Thanks Thing, and I'm guessing you're coming with her. That you just sees a bums up emoji before shaking his head. You then turns off his phone and puts his earphones away. That's when Zoe walks and sit on the couch in front of the both of them. Zoe. Good news, I've got 2 apartments in Japan for you. Bad news is the last 2 owners went nuts and slotted their partner. Now which practically a bad apartment. Deku. Good enough. Deku and Marinette funk Zoe Zen head out and head to the Eiffel Tower. They see Issei sitting there slightly annoyed while tapping his foot. Me up and see Aaliyah left. Marinette phone pings with the location of their new apartment. Deku open a portal to Japan and they all step through. They end up in a back alleyway in Japan. Faces them both, his eyes calculated. Deku. Marinette, do you think you can upgrade my outfit with some cold-resistant materials? Deku says while pulling a briefcase with his villain outfit in it. Marinette opens it and sees the outfit and looks over it. Marinette. I could have it sorted in a month. They continue to talk about the plans. Time skip a week before the apocalypse. Deku and Marinette that stood in the airport waiting for Wednesday. They see her walker with a black suitcase looks at them both before nodding. They head out and get in a black military jeep. Deku drives them to the same apartment building he's in. They head to the 19th floor and get out. They head straight down the hall and enter the building. When they do, Wednesday raises an eyebrow. Half of the apartment is bright and colorful while the other half is almost dead minus a black carpet and dark planks screwed to the wall. That's winning knock is heard at the door and Deku turns around. Answer it. He sees Issei standing there wearing a full black combat uniform with his red goblet that goes up to his elbow. It has a green gem on the back of the palm and golden spikes. He puts on a face mask and nods towards a Deku. Wednesday. Dress like that. Why? Deku. Well, we still need more supplies and medicine. Issei. So we're going to split up and hit some medicine warehouses and some supply warehouses. Marinette. Since the snow will start falling next week. Wednesday. Catch me up on this apocalypse when we get back. Deku. Right before I forget, I found this. Deku pulls out two black crystals that has a purple swirl in the center. Marinette and Issei grabs one each, but before in that could put it in her mouth. Wednesday takes it. Wednesday. And this is? Deku. A quirk orb. To put that one as in gives you a story to a space that you can store any non-living items in permanently. That's the round of a football field. Wednesday puts it in her mouth then crushes it. Deku. Well, since you Marinette are living together, I guess it's all ready. And you wait, we have 6 targets before the apocalypse starts. Deku pulls out a map of the city with 6 locations marked. Deku. Tool supply warehouses to medicine warehouses and some weapon storages. Marinette. Me Wednesday will take the free on the left, you to take the free on the right. Issei. I mean it does make the most sense. Deku. Be careful of the armories, they got it. Wednesday. Meet up back here after. Deku and Issei head out of the window, Issei spreading his back wings and Deku keeping up on the ground. They decided to hit the weapon stash first since it's the hardest. When they get there they see a bunch of armored in the visuals guarding a bunch of trucks being loaded with weapons. Deku notices all of them up have a bird mask. Deku and Issei hop down and land right in front of them. In the instance they start to fire, Deku opens a portal absorbing all the bullets. All of them run out of ammo, then Deku closes his portal, then he opens a portal in the same place. All of the bullets go flying out and ripping them into pieces. Always keep decor. Walks to one of the weapon trucks and stores the entire truck and whatever is in it. Issei does the same with the other truck. They turn it to the warehouse and see a bunch more weapons and crates of ammo. Deku walks towards one of the shelves before storing it. That's when one of the doors get punched inwards and ripped of. All Might. I am here. Deku stores a few more guns and weapons then walks towards All Might. All Might's eyes widen as Deku's figure steps into the light. His costume is almost the same except his left arm is covered in metal making it look like a demon's arm. Deku. I Crimson take care of the weapons. Issei. Dude, I never agreed to that code name. All Might. Then what should I call you? Issei. Acknowledge. Deku. Okay then. Acknowledge, take care of the weapons, I got the muscle head. Before All Might could say anything, Deku opens one of his portals as the wagon that had the weapons in comes flying out and hits him, sending him out of the building. Deku walks up to the truck and puts his hand on it. The truck then seems to decay digitally before disappearing. Deku walks out of the broken door. All Might's eyes widen. All Might cocks his fist back and throws a punch right towards Deku's face. Before the punch lands, it goes through a portal and the other side of the portal appears right in front of All Might's face. He sends himself flying backwards and hits a wall. Deku is walking right in front and pulls out a heavy anti-material rifle and points it at All Might's shoulder. He pulls the trigger, blowing off All Might's right arm. Deku's eyes narrow intensely at All Might. Deku stanta and slum his rifle onto his shoulder. The rifle fires, ripping a hole through a civilian. Deku turns around and Deku sees a civilian with its head blown off. All Might's eyes widen, pulls out a red crystal. Before anything could be said, Hawks dropkicks Deku, sending him flying away a little bit away. That's when a huge amount of red flames fly towards Deku. He immediately puts up his portal, absorbing all of the flames. Endeavor. You've seen better days, All Might. Hawk. Hey man, dude just lost an arm, chill out. All Might. I'm okay Hawks, I'm okay. All Might says as he stands up. Deku opens up a portal spewing out all of Endeavor's flames. Hawks throws a few of his feathers in Deku's direction. Deku opens another portal absorbing all the feathers. All Might disappear and punches Deku in the gut, sending him flying into the wall of the warehouse. Deku looks at the crystal in his hand, put this in his mouth and crush his it. Deku's K.9 feet elongate until Deku's hair turns completely white and his nails grow slightly into clothes. Endeavor throws a fireball at Deku. It misses him and hits All Might, making the area smell like burnt meat. Deku's eyes go slitted wake, his pupils glowing right. He bites into the arm and rips the flash off, revealing of the bone. All Might is trying not to vomit. Endeavor rose a fireball, but then a black-green lightning starts sparking around Deku, making everybody look at Deku. He jumps in there 3 times as high as usual, then he talks towards Hawks and drug kicks into the concrete, cracking it. That's when Endeavor walks in front of Deku and let out an annoyed scoff. Deku's head butts Endeavor square in the jewel-breaking date that you grabs his jaw before wrecking it off with one hand and standing him in the eye, making Endeavor scream out in pain. Deku pulls out a dagger and slices his throat. Blood starts coming out of his mouth and Deku looked at the other 2 heroes. Deku, you even die come up to me. The other thing worse than his. Deku opens a portal and on a rooftop waiting for Issei. After 5 minutes wings I heard behind him. He doesn't even turn around. Deku, so I'm cheap to warehouse. Issei, just got 2 more places to hit. Issei spreads his wings and Deku opens a portal and they both step through. An hour later they head back to Marinette's on Wednesdays and apartments. Wednesday is set on the bed, towel around her. Deku looks conflict until he sees the scratch marks on her back to see a bunch of claw marks. Marinette, no Issei, it wasn't anything you're thinking. Midnight on the Wild Pussycats happened to be trying to stop the smuggling. Issei, same thing with us except for it was All Might and Deku blew off his arm. Wednesday, not bad. Issei, not bad, not fucking bad. That can use the Endeavor's jewel to stab him with it. Marinette and Wednesday look at Deku and then Deku looks at the window to see snow starting to fall. Deku, looks like the apocalypse has begun. Wednesday, can me and my girlfriend have some space now? Issei and Deku give a slice smurf before walking out. They both fist bump and Issei enters the apartment across. Deku heads to his floor and when he opens the door he sees Mitsuki wearing nothing but an apron and cooking. Deku, I'm back. Mitsuki, welcome back Izuku. Deku and Mitsuki have dinner then go to bed. Deku falls asleep and slowly opens his eyes to see he's in a black void. He looks around in confusion but then a woman that could only be described as a model cosplaying a hero. Deku, okay, where am I? Nana, I seen how you got one for all and I ain't complain, it way better than that choice he had. Deku, and you are? Nana, Nana 7 fuser of one for all and it looks like the only one of us who currently has a physical form inside one for all. Well, inside you of one for all. Deku, okay, what is this one for all you keep saying I have? Nana spends the next hour explaining everything about one for all and all for one. Deku, must have been when I ripped his arm open with my mouth like a giant chicken drum. Nana, and I've seen what he would have done to you if you were still in well UA and we have access to all your memories so. Deku, we're just in my head. Nana, yes, and no. Wear it somewhere in between your mind and the core of one for all. Think of it as a second space that you can currently enter. The others are waiting for you in the core of one for all but you need to be able to at least use it at 15%. We cut to the next day. Deku is waking up in his bedroom and looks out of the window. He sees most of the first laws completely buried in snow. He checks the time and sees it's almost 11 a.m. That's when he gets a message on his phone and he checks it. He sees his from the homeowners group chat. Deku notices that there's an old woman who seems to be the one in charge and keeps frightening people with the authorities. Deku switches group chat to the chaotic motherfuckers GC. Deku's text. Is it just me or do you have a bad feeling about this Karen we have in the building? Marinette's text. She asked for us quirkless to shovel the snow this morning. Issei's text. Reflect, she has it out for us just because we don't have it ability. Well, a human ability. Deku's text. The snow will continue to fall for the next 3 months. Issei's text. The underworld has the same issue as well, heaven and all the other rounds. Deku's text. So it's worse than I thought, it seems it's affecting everywhere. Marinette's text. Wednesday here could have something with this so-called dimensional rift. Deku's text. From what I remember, Issei explained to us this dimensional rift could have been open when the explosion haste causing a permanent winter in there, and since it's outside of reality itself could be causing all the other rounds to have the same issue. Issei's text. Yeah, might be the reason. Deku's text. Met at my place, there's a few things we need to get before it completely begins. That's when a knock is heard on his door and he opens it to see Marinette, Wednesday and Issei stood there. Deku lets them in and they all sit around the table. Deku. There's a crater of weapons heading to the most secure prison in Japan. I'm thinking we intercept it. Wednesday. What exactly is in this cargo? Deku. Where to begin? More weapons. Quirk suppression cuffs and quirk suppression collars. And some other stuff including some gadgets from my island. Issei, so when is this cargo supposed to be arriving? Deku, 3 hours from now it will make it quick refuel at the South Docks before heading to Tartarus. Issei, and I'm getting you have a somewhat of a plan for Tartarus. Deku, not exactly but I do for a prisoner in there. But that will have to wait at least until the power goes on the emergency which will be next month. Wednesday. Marinette you're staying here. Marinette, but why? Wednesday, because I said so. She looks down like a sad puppy. Issei pet her on the head before we all put on our costumes. I open up portal and we all teleport to on top of a warehouse at the South Docks. Most of the ports are completely frozen over but we notice a huge armored cargo ship with it at least 50 guards on board. Deku pulls out a pair of binoculars and looks over the ship. Issei, the plan. Deku, takes 4 hours to get from point A to point B so we'll strike 1.5 hours in silence so we're not going to alert anyone. That's when Deku notices a few people dressed in all black suits talking to one of the people while handing them some crates of syringes. Deku looks closely at them and realizes it's a quirk enhancement drug. Deku, well this just got interesting. Looks like we got some quirk enhancement drugs on the list. Issei, crow's nest 4 o'clock. Deku takes a look and see Hawks wearing thick clothing while on one of the crow's nests and lets out an annoyed sigh. Wednesday, pigeon. Deku, well you ain't wrong but he's more annoying. We'll wait here till they set off then we'll sneak on board. They sit there for around 40 minutes then Deku sees Nana sitting in the snow next to him while raising an eyebrow. Nana, so want to explain why we are hijacking military-grade cargo? Deku, like I said it's got some stuff where you might need. Wednesday, who are you talking to? Deku, how to explain but in simple terms I've got this somewhat of a vestige realm and currently the only one I can talk to is talking to me. Wednesday, good to know I'm not the only one who has a helper in the form of a ghost. Issei, they're moving out. Deku and Wednesday look at this ship that is slowly heading out. They hop off the roof and quickly climb aboard the ship. They sit in between some crate while they wait for it to get far enough away from shore. They hide in between a crate for around an hour before stretching and standing up. Deku, now it's a good time as any. A guard spots them. That's before he could say anything. A knife look lines in between his eyes. Wednesday walked up to the body and rips out the knife. Wednesday hops on top of the crates, her movement silent. Issei, I'll take care of the captain and the comms. Deku, just give us the signal when we can stop playing Assassin's Creed. Issei spreads his wings and hops off the side of the boat. Deku waits there for around 5 minutes before the power goes out on the ship. Deku, well it's better than nothing. He walks out of where he was hiding, bodies lying everywhere. Deku shakes his head before continuing walking. Hawks lands behind him and Deku doesn't even turn around. Deku, well hello Hawks. I would say it's nice to see you again. But it's really isn't. Hawks, oh so you did miss me. Deku, I've got to give you these back. Deku snaps his fingers as a blue portal appears and a few of Hawk's feathers shoot out straight towards him. If you cut him but he minds used to gain control over them. His eyes widening. Deku put both of his hands on 2 different containers and puts them in the storage space. Before Hawks could say anything a huge thud is heard as blood splatters Deku's face. Deku wipes away the blood before shaking his head. He walks back over to the crate and stores it. Issei appears right behind Deku while looking at the flattened Hawks. Wednesday, not a bad idea. Deku, right, let's stock up on the supplies since I don't think you can turn off the autopilot. They collect all the supplies before leaving and Deku looks back at the ship. They step through the portal ending up in Deku's storage space. They see all the floating containers and crates. Deku snaps his fingers disassembling all of crates and containers. After they sort out all of the supplies between them they step out ending up back in the apartment. That's when they get bombarded with messages about how they should be helping their community as much as the quirkless can, so they should go out there and start shoveling the snow. They all scuff that and just put that phone on silent. Deku check the security camera and see everybody from in the apartment at the front door trying to get out. Deku rolls his eyes and ignores it. Deku get a message on the class 1A group chat and he decides to eavesdrop. He sees the main messages are about him leaving UA before the attack, but there is a few who kept talking about the snow and a few of the cold-blooded students in UA have went into hibernation. Deku, right, I forgot I told that frog bitch to put some thermal gel in her suit for people with a space quirks. Deku notices the lights flicker, then a notification that his backup generators have been activated. Deku leans back in his chair with a slight smile. We cut to the UA faculty room. Nezu, Hawks is dead. Midnight, how? Nezu, we're not sure, we just found his squished flesh and bones with his feathers on a cargo ship heading to Tartarus, but we think it was Blizzard. All Might, I have a bad feeling about Blizzard. Aizawa, what do you mean, a bad feeling about him? All Might, Well, every time we've met him he's always had a new abilities. Present Mike. Okay, what do you mean by new abilities? All Might. First time we met he could only open portals, but then when we met a few nights ago when he killed a civilian he got this weird crystal, and just before me and Endeavor could finish him he consumed the crystal and he was faster, especially after he had my arm. Nezu. That is strange. But we also saw something like that in the USJ. Cementos. What are you talking about? Nezu. Well, we found a female corpse in the landslide zone, but when we took her body in for analysis we found she had a succubus quirk, but when we ran tests it was like a quirk factor was dismantled on death and reassembled somewhere else. All Might. Do you think it is someone like him? Nezu. Not exactly, since you said he got the crystal after he killed a civilian, right? All Might. Yes, that is right. But what does that have to do with anything? Aizawa. If I may step in. I think its quirk works a little bit like mine. When he kills somebody his quirk from a crystal of that person's quirk, dismantling their quirk gene into the crystal. Nezu. I was thinking something along those lines, but the real question is, what is his problem with 1A? Aizawa. On a different topic. What is with this weather? Midnight. And know what you mean, it's meant to be the middle of summer and yet it's snowing. Nezu. Well, I have got in touch with some people from America and it turns out a supernova hit Uranus, causing Earth's temperatures to be decreased, but when not sure how much it will drop. And how long it will last. All Might. Could Blizzard have known about this? Vlad King. I mean, I wouldn't rule out the possibility since he's been collecting supplies. Recovery Girl. 6 locations were hit, 2 medical storage to supply warehouses, and of course the Yakuza weapons warehouses that we had that eye on for a while. Power Loader. I know what you mean, but I think his quirk isn't teleportation or opening portals. I did some research on what we've saw and there's a noticeable delay between the portals and when he took the bodies. We still haven't found them. Present Mike. While we still need to keep on the download because we're not sure if this will last a few months. Power Loader. Well, with my calculations are correct, it will continue to rise for around 1 more weeks and then it will go back to normal within 2 months tops. We cut to a week later. Deku is sat in his living room. The snow has the first and second floor. Deku. UA runs out of supplies today. I think it's about time to put my plan into action. That's when Deku walks out of the living room and stands on the balcony. He opens a portal 2 floors beneath him facing upwards. He steps off the balcony and falls right into it. He lands in front of the bridge heading towards Tartarus. Deku slowly walks across the bridge. His eyes narrow the closer he gets until they're completely closed right in front of the gate. Deku touches the gate and that notices it's frozen and fragile. Deku channels 3% of 1 for all through his entire body and kicks the gate, shattering it. Deku waits for an alarm but nothing happens. He looks at the GAD tower and notices one of the guards and they're completely frozen solid. Deku. Well, this is going to be easier than I expected. Deku walks to the front door of the prison and notices it's slightly more sterility but still fragile. He channels 10%. He feels a slight strain on his body but he manages to push through it and punches the door, shattering it. He notices that the prison still has power. He slowly walked through the first floor, noticing all of the guards are frozen. He walks to the armory and just pushes the door open, if chattering like fragile ice. Deku holds his hand out, black smoke shooting towards all of the weapons, making it disappear. Deku continues to walk and notices that there's a warm breeze coming from the elevator. He walked up to it and punches the door with 5% of 1 for all. It slightly dents the door, so he pushes it to 10% and kicks his foot upwards, the wind pressure creating a somewhat of an air blade slicing the elevator door open. Deku then slides the doors and the steps and he notices that there is only 4 floors going earth and 1 going down. Deku. Right, every floor has a different elevator to go down for security purposes. Oh well. Deku puts both hands in his pockets after hitting the elevator to go down. It goes down for 30 seconds before stopping. Deku's statue to see the roof is tall enough to 3 stories high for each floor. He walks past every prison cell, only peeking in to see who's in it. He notices all of the prisoners are frozen on this floor. He heads to the end and continues to go down. He reaches for -5 and walks halfway down. He then sees all the prisoners on this floor freezing but not solid ice cubes. Deku continues to walk until he reaches cell 1859. He looks through and sees Lading the gun sat on her bed with her eyes closed. He simply knocks on the door and she opened her eyes looking at him in surprise. Deku slightly grins before putting his hand on the door and the door disappears into a storage space. Lady Nagant. I'm sorry, who are you? Deku. Izuku. I'm known as Blizzard. Her eyes widen as she tries to activate her work but the collar shocks her slightly and she grabs it in pain. Deku rolls his eyes and walks up to her and grabs the chair in the room and pulls it right in front of her before sitting down. Lady Nagant. What do you want? Deku. Simple. I want you. Lady Nagant. You break into the most secure place in all of Japan. Top 10 in the world just for me. Deku. Tango, I didn't break in, I just walked in. You technically are living under a rock, so let me just get a few things straight. World's gone into an ice age apocalypse. Human morals out the window. Lady Nagant, and what makes you think I will go with you? Deku, because it can go one of two ways. One, you become mine willingly. Two, I use a succubus mark to make you my property. Lady Nagant, so technically you'll be taking me by force. Deku, technically yes, but human moles out the window. You want something, you take the roles of the apocalypse. Lady Nagant, fine, I'll go with you. Deku reaches into his infantry and pulls out some fluffy winter clothing. He stands where the door would be, putting his foot on the door frame. She would luckily gets dressed in front of him. Then they walk out. Deku hears villains begging to be let go, but Deku just continues walking. Lady Nagant, why aren't you letting them free as well? Deku, one, they hold no strategic value to me. Two, they'll just get in my way. When they get out of the prison, Deku snaps his fingers as the black military jeep appears in front of him. He hops in, leaning a gun to getting in the passenger seat, so you find the seats comfortable and falls asleep. Deku kisses her on the forehead and her expression softens with a slight sweet smile. Deku, sometimes you need to have the most unpredictable company as an ace. Day after tomorrow, Rei Todoroki freezes to death. Tomorrow I will make my move. Deku stalks just outside of the city and sees most of the houses are buried in snow completely. Lady Nagant slowly wakes up, her feelings more refreshed than ever. Deku leans back in his seat and pat his lap. Lady Nagant reluctantly sit on his lap, puts his finger and thumb under her chin. Deku drives back home with her on his lap, but before getting to the apartment he stops a little ways away and get out of the black military jeep. Deku and Lady Nugget walk the rest of the way back. Deku sees a bunch of the people that live here shoveling the snow. Deku walks around back of the apartment and steps in through the stairs. Lady Nagant is reluctantly following Deku. That's when a bold man grabs Deku's shoulder. Baldy Basics. Hey man, listen, we can't get out much, so we'll make you deal some supplies. We all lovely lady. Deku snaps his fingers as Lady Nagant transforms her elbow into a sniper and points at the guys. Their eyes widen, but then Deku pulls out a crossbow and shoots the guy in the leg. The guy screams out in pain and Deku walks right past him to the elevator. He enters the elevator and head to the top floor. He enters his apartment. Lady Nagant removed her coat and sits down. She stretches her arm out and turns her elbow into his sniper. She starts to fiddle with it, cleaning it out. Lady Nagant sees Mitsuki cleaning the house and Deku walks up the stairs to the upstairs balcony. He looks at both of his girls, his eyes narrowing slightly. Deku, I will be in my storage space. He opens a portal and steps through. Mitsuki, so why did Izuku choose you? Lady Nagant, not sure why, you just wanted me out of all the other people in there. Mitsuki, well, we have some rules here. If you want you, he can have you. Izuku's what is obsolete. Lady Nagant, whatever. We see Deku standing in his void looking over all of his supplies and opens the system shop. He notices he has just over 300 gold and snaps his fingers. He sells all of the containers, bumping his gold up to 400 inches. Deku, so 50 crates equals 100 gold. Deku checks the apartment's group chat and raises an eyebrow. He sees that Karen lady just got beat up by the Baldy and his goons. He then sees that one of the best doctors with a good healing quirk is in the building. He remembers she also unlocks a gift that allows her to accelerate healing to almost instant, but Deku notices she hasn't unlocked it yet. Deku places his rifle out and uses some of the bones from the bodies he has to upgrade it. The barrels changes to be more bone-like construction. It has a rib cage-like pattern going around its frame. The scope gets covered in small bones with two hand wrapping around the scope. System. Your sniper rifle has a fact necrosis. From now on, a bullet will slowly eat away at its opponent till the opponent is completely dead. Deku, not bad. System. Untied sniper bullets require bones from a creature and to be forged in the side of your system. Deku spends another 5 minutes sorting out everything before leaving. He looks at the white city out of the window, what's the couch, and crosses his legs just watching the group chats. He notices his name pops up more than once in each of them, but he rolls his eyes. That's when he gets a message of an unknown number telling him to in location not far from his current position. He raises an eyebrow at this before shrugging and leaving. He gets the alleyway and then sees a purple portal in front of him. He steps through. Andy's in a dark room. He sees a man in a business suit connected to a bunch of machines with his face looking like a Mr. Potato Head. Deku, you send me a message out of nowhere and you expect me not to be curious, so what do you want? My patience is limited. All for one. Well, where to begin? You decided to drop in on our raid against Ua, kill all of my pawns that I had for that raid in. Deku let out a sad sigh as Eri looks at him. Small tears go down Deku's face. He tries to keep quiet. Eri picks it up. Eri, you don't want me, do you? Deku, what? No, it's not. Eri, I see it in your eyes. You want me, but your heart can't handle it, I know. My mother had the same look before she gave me to overhaul. Deku, I grew up alone, rarely needing anyone and having somebody rely on me fairly. I don't think I can stand it. Eri, I'm sorry, I know I promised, but I think I know somebody who can take you away. Deku and Eri heads to Marinette apartment. Deku knocks on the door as Wednesday opens it. Wednesday. What do you want? Marinette sleeping. Deku. This is Eri, yours and Marinette's new daughter. So. Deku walks off, leaving Eri stood in front of Wednesday. Deku enters his apartment, removing his jacket. Lady Nagant has her rifle out and polishing it. Deku walks to the window looking over the white city. Lady Nagant. So what's the plan, because I know we ain't just gonna be sitting around and I know you don't like to be cooped up in the house. Deku. 2 objectives. First up, payback on Wallet, aka slaughter them all except for one, since that bitch who's the main reason why I got killed, so I'm going to a supper as a plaything. And then we have Endeavor's wife, since that asshole pissed me off in my previous life and I just want payback. Lady Nagant. I'm talking along as long as we can hit Hawks after this. Deku. I squished the pigeon under a container before the apocalypse. Lady Nagant. So which one of your classmates are keeping our life? Deku. There's rich girl named Momo, she was pretty nice to me, so I'm thinking about having her. And then we have her friend Jiro, same situation, only thing is it isn't rich and it's just a punk rock. Mitsuki. Thank you, make sure my brat suffers. Deku. Okay, what's with you, before you'd be against me killing him? Mitsuki. Several reasons. 1, he reminds me way too much of his sperm. And because of that, Brown, I can no longer have any more cakes, and he's been nothing but disrespectful ever since he got that blasted quirk. And yes, I would be against it, but after you've told me what he did to you in your past life, yeah, I know if I wasn't his mother I would have killed him already. Deku. Just for you I'll kill everybody else and leave him till last so he can watch all of his friends bleed out and die, not like he has any. Deku grabs this jacket and put it on. That's when Deku gets a notification on his phone that somebody new has entered the building. He looks at it and his eyes get a dangerous glint in it. Just the person he was waiting for, right on time, just like in his past life. A tall woman with long flowing silver hair wearing a plain black outfit with a white lab coat over it. She looks slightly shaking and is acting polite to all as the residents. Deku remembers it takes 3 days to run of supplies after giving it away to people in need. Deku. Mitsuki, keep an eye on this woman for me. If it looks like she's in trouble, invite her in and get her all cozy. Mitsuki. I'll keep an eye on her, and when it looks like she's getting into trouble I'll invite her in and persuade her to stay with us. Deku and Lady Nagant get up and head out the building. Issei walks out of the building right behind them and they all get in vehicles. Deku drives towards UA and pulls up right on the highest building close to the hill towards UA. System. Succubus will now influence your mate personality and mental state to match the players, will not affect their physical or ideals, only on the player's enemies. Deku. For that explains some things, but oh well. Deku walks to the deactivated gate of UA and sees all the buildings lights off with the emergency power on. Deku hands leading the guns a bright yellow crystal with sparks flying inside of it. She hesitantly puts it in her mouth and crushes it, and small sparks bounce between her fingers and she looks at Deku surprised. Deku walks straight to the UA dorms area and sees a bunch of other houses just like in his past life. Deku equips his Blizzard gear and knocks on the class 1 dorms. Deku doesn't hit anything for a solid few seconds before knocking again. After 5 more minutes Deku looks at his watch, kicks the door off its hinges and going flying down the hallway. That's when Deku watches as all of one come out of their dorm room, their bodies shaking, and most of them coming out of Shoto's room with his flames slightly sparking off his body, the eyes riding when they see Blizzard stood there with lading the guns, casually looking at her rifle. Deku. That's not all, miss me assholes. Everybody's eyes widen as they immediately try and activate that quirks, but their bodies are too cold. Deku walks up to Momo and Jiro. He leans in front of them and that lets out a slow seductive growl, making them fall to their knees in slight fear, with Jiro feeling something different. Deku with stanza and that looks down the hallway. He speaks in a posh tone sounding like somebody straight out of a posh act in movie. Deku. Class 1. It has been a little while. Now usually I don't hold grudges, but you are a special case. Bakugo. Why the hell have you been targeting us? Deku. Well, that's quite simple. Kachan. All of one stop and look at Deku, their eyes wide. Deku reaches for his mask. Bakugo. You wanted to be a hero. Deku. I chose my path, future's the way of the hero, and they found you amusing for a while, the people of this city, but the one thing they love more than a hero is to see a hero fail, fall, die trying. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you. Why bother? Deku pulls out 2 submachine guns and fires at one. Only leaving Mina, Momo, Jiro and Bakugo. Deku walks right in front of Bakugo, unpause out a flip knot. He puts a rusty ball into it. Deku. I guess there is a god. Deku pulls the trigger, blowing the hole right through Bakugo's foot. Deku turns around and walks out of there. Deku puts his mask back on and drops a smoke bomb. Lady Nagant puts on her own mask as a layer of pink smoke enlips the building, knocking the last free survivors out. Deku. Take him back to the apartment, I'm going to deal with some things. Deku walks out of the building, continues to walk around, then he comes across a jewelry store. He smashes the glass and enters it. He starts going through everything and taking whatever he wants. Deku grabs handfuls of jewelry and shoves them in his inventory. Deku continues to walk around the city, him somewhat enjoying himself. Deku stands outside a mental hospital. Deku walks in after smashing the glass of one of the room windows. Deku continues walking through the building before eventually getting to the filing room. Thank you so much for the files. Before eventually heading back up the stairs and standing outside of room 461. Vacuum knocks on the door politely as a tall woman with gray eyes and white hair opens it, her body slightly shaping but otherwise looking warm. Ray, did my husband send you? Deku, no I can't, it just came here for you. Rai, let's take you into the room. Before closing the door they sit down, Deku pulling out some warm drinks out of his inventory. Deku sit on the chair next to her. Ray, so what do you really want? You wouldn't just come here if it wasn't worth it. Deku, how did you? Ray, I'm Endeavor's wife. Not many people becoming looking for me, and unless they wanted to get advocate to him or a powerful quirk. Deku, well that isn't the reason why I'm here. I want revenge on Endeavor for pissing me off at one point, and we both know he doesn't have a heart, so I was thinking about just going to end him, but then I remembered he has a wife, and I'm not saying I want you for your body or anything like that. I'm trying to say as your lovely lady, and I was wondering if you wouldn't mind. Ray, I can tell you a nice kid, but why would you want a woman way past her prime and has been used multiple times? Deku decides to try a mix of flirting and a little bit of succubus pheromones. Deku, well, since it's an ice apocalypse, I was wondering for an ice queen to rule beside me. Deku sighs in a relaxed tone but with a hint his succubus pheromones in the background. Deku watches as a small bitter blood trickles out of Ray's nose. Deku, so do you want to be this frozen king's queen? Ray, I suppose I can be a queen. But I want to kill that bastard with my own hands. Deku, I don't really care as long as he pays for pissing me off. System succubus mark has been activated on Rei Todoroki. Hidden personality unlocked. Dominators, collected. Rei's title Queen of Frost. For now on, the colder the temperature the strongest she gets. Complete immunity to all ice-based attacks and debuffs. Players title King of Frost be completely immune to all for space attacks, and when touching snow become 90% less visible to enemies or people with hostile intent. Deku gives her some proper clothes before they head out of the building. They decide to walk around until they get to Endeavor's Hero Agency. Before Deku could do anything, Rei snaps her fingers as a huge spear of ice rips through the wall, sounding the building's emergency alarm and closing metal shutters. Deku puts his hand on his face before another ice pillar stabs right through the metal, ripping it apart instantly. Deku turns to Rei to see her eyes are full with chaos and a slight hint of pleasure that's destroying the building. Deku hesitantly walks into the building after storing the giant ice glacier. They walk through the quiet building. While walking through the building, I make it to the top floor to see all of Endeavor's female sidekicks lying on the encounter or on the floor with cum covering them in their mouth or vagina. Rei surrounds her and Deku in a block of ice covered in spikes. She snaps her fingers as the balls shatter and split out, stabbing all of them, making them look worse than a hedgehog. Deku walks to Endeavor's office. Deku takes a step to the side as Rei freezes the door solid before kicking it to see Endeavor in the middle of fucking a woman with long hair resembling green fire, with it flickering now and again. Rei, it's over between us. A pillar of ice smashes into Endeavor, crushing him into the wall as small hairs begin to grow across the pillar of ice, which at a closer look and tease are actually millions of small hypodermic needles that pierce his skin as he screams out in agony. Rei walks to the psychic that Endeavor was fucking and walks down at her, disgust riddling her face. Endeavor's screams continue, but then the needles covering the pillar begin to grow through Endeavor, piercing his body, making him spit out blood before dying. Deku, hold on. Rei, what should I make? Just kill her right here right now. Deku, well, the Ice Queen needs a pet. Rei glares at Deku for a few seconds before coming down before creating an ice collar around the sidekick's neck. Deku picks up the sidekick before walking out of the building. After taking got all of the supplies, they eventually get out of the building and Deku summons the military jeep. Rei create a cage made of ice in the boot of the truck and places the sidekick in it. Deku closes the door before driving through the city. Rei makes Deku stop outside of a pet shop. Deku hops up the car and heads in with Rei leading the way like a woman going shopping. Deku's thoughts. Okay, what the hell is up with her? She went from being quiet and almost submissive to a complete dominatrix mixed with a psychopath. Hold on, let me recheck her title and its effects. System Rei's title Queen of Frost. For now on, the colder the temperature the strongest she gets. Complete immunity to all ice-based attacks and debuffs. Title will also affect Rei's mental state, giving her the personality of a true Frost Queen with a frozen heart, making her emotions completely cut off and her senses will only allow those she considers to be beneficial to what a king wants. Deku's eyebrows raise before Deku sorts himself out quickly before she notices that Could sees her browsing collars and leashes like a woman looking at handbags. Deku grabs a spiked pink one before stuffing it in his pocket. Deku pulls out Carnage Wolf's quirk crystal before looking at over. System Predator has leveled up, allowing you to alter the quirk crystals you get. Wanting cannot completely override the crystal. Each crystal has a max point of 20 that will be removed and added based on how you change it. Deku walks to the counter and sits on it before opening a system window to alter the quirk crystal. Thank you. Sees it like a computer program with all this features written out for him. He sees only 4 points remain to alter it. System Quirk Editor. Enhanced Agility, Enhanced Strength, Enhanced Reflexes, Enhanced Sight, Enhanced Smell, Enhanced Hearing, Enhanced Taste, Night Vision, Wolf Ears, Wolf Tail, Body Fur, Wolf Mouth, Higher Offspring Potential, Bone Claws, Animalistic Instincts, Blood Lost like it only be satiated by other people's blood spilt. Heat Cycle, requires raw meat in diet. Edit points 4/20. Deku looks over the information and all of the perks of the Carnage Wolf and decides to test out something. It makes it quick change to it and wait for the window to refresh. As soon as it does, Deku looks over it intensely. System Quirk Editor. Enhanced Agility, Enhanced Strength, Enhanced Reflexes, Enhanced Sight, Enhanced Smell, Enhanced Hearing, Enhanced Taste, Night Vision, Wolf Ears, Wolf Tail, Body Fur, Wolf Mouth, Higher Offspring Potential, Bone Claws, Animalistic Instincts, Blood Lost like it only be satiated by other people's blood spilt. Heat Cycle, requires raw meat in diet. Will only allow to speak in sound resembling a wolf dog. Edit points 6/20. Deku. So debuffs will allow me to add points and other attachments will reduce the points. Okay, let's see what I can do with this. After a few more minutes of Deku tinkering with the quirk orbs, he looks at the finished project. System Quirk Editor. Enhanced Agility, Enhanced Strength, Enhanced Reflexes, Enhanced Sight, Enhanced Smell, Enhanced Hearing, Enhanced Taste, Night Vision, Wolf Ears, Wolf Tail, Body Fur, Wolf Mouth, 0.5% for Offspring. Metal Claws, Metal Skeleton, Animalistic Instincts, Wolf Transformation, Pyrokinesis, Cold Resistance, Blood Lost like it only be satiated by other people's blood spilt. Heat Cycle, requires raw meat in diet. Will only allow to speak in sound resembling a wolf dog. Edit points 0/20. Deku. Alright, so I can't do complete overhauls, but this one turned out a little bit better than I expected. Deku and Rei continue to take what they want from the pet store before heading out. On their way back, they pass a red light district and decide to head into it. They head to the shops there and proceed to take BDSM stuff. Eventually they make it back home and Deku sees his girls casually chatting on the couch. Deku. I'm back. Rei walks in pulling a cage made of ice with a sidekick in it. She pulls it to the elevator and goes upstairs while twirling the edited Carnage Wolf crystal in her hand. Deku sees Momo and Jiro sat on the couch slightly fearful, just wearing a simple black t-shirt and black pants. He walks to the couch and sits between Lady Nagant and Mitsuki. They sit quiet for a few seconds before Jiro speaks up, her voice hesitant. Jiro. So why did you kidnap us and why are you Blizzard? Deku. Currently you're on a need-to-know basis. And for why? Well, you two were the only good ones to me, so I wasn't planning on killing you. Momo, but still doesn't answer her question. Deku, well, I'm guessing you know the rules already about this place. I'm in charge and what I say goes. Now what I'm offering you is very simple, a place to stay and food, in exchange. Deku pulls out a bunny girl outfit and a maid's uniform. Both girls look at the outfits hesitantly. Deku, you too nice to me, so that is why I'm being nice to you. I'm offering you a place to stay, food, junior belly, and anything your heart can desire. Deku hears the stomachs rumble before Deku pulls out to 5-star meals and places them in front of them. They both hesitantly look at it, but then Momo digs in without saying anything. Jiro hesitantly start digging in and start enjoying the food. Eventually they both finish, but they feel slight lightheaded. Deku, right, should I start with super awesome soft? Since your stomach went from barely eating to solid meals, you might feel a little bit dizzy and like you wanna throw up. Momo and Jiro spend the next few days getting used to the apartment decorating. Have a week before they have to make a choice. In that time Deku has been staying home and saw it out some things. Eventually the day comes. Momo and Jiro sat in front of Deku with both maid uniform and bunny girl outfit are on the table in front of them. That's when, before they could speak, Rei comes walking out of her room with the sidekick on a leash with light green fur covering her body that flickers like small purse of flames. She walks on all fours while having a muzzle on. Rei walks next to Deku and sits down while having the sidekick sit on the floor. Rei. Girls, I like you to meet my pet Scotch. He did take some convincing, but now she's completely submissive. Deku. So what is your answers? Jiro. I just have one question. What happened to Mina? Deku. Well, currently she is getting the same treatment as Scorch over here got. Momo, what did you do to you to deserve that fate instead of death? Deku, well, remember how my throat always used to hurt? Yeah, that was because of her pouring slightly corrosive but not dangerous acid down my throat, and trust me, that was one of the most tamer things 1A did to me. Now your answers. Jiro. Okay, Momo. What, Jiro? Have you seen it out there? Listen, I ain't a gold digger or somebody who wants to sell their body for money or anything like that. I just want to survive. If that means somebody who killed a classmates and who is kind of handsome, then I don't mind either being a maid or walking around wearing a bunny girl outfit. Momo. I don't know if I want to. I mean, it in this situation it is good, but how will I know we won't end up like her? Deku. Oh, don't worry, I don't do anything like that to you. The only reason why Scorch is like that is because Rei wanted it, and Mina because of what she's put me through. Mitsuki. By the way, Izuku, what happened to my brat? Deku. I shot him in the foot with a rusty thick knot bullet. Not only is it killing him slowly, he's also getting tetanus and a bunch of other dangerous illness. Mitsuki. By the way, I've sorted out a meeting with the doctor you wanted. She will be here in 2 hours. Deku. So Momojiro, what are your answers? Because if you do decline, I will give you enough food to survive the week, but after that you're on your own and I can't guarantee you'd be safe out there. Momo. So does the outfits represent something, or is it just 2 outfits you have? Deku. Well, kinda, it is just something I have on hand, but if you want to get technical with it, the maid uniform technically means exactly what it means. You'll become my maid and have to help around the house, and don't worry, you will get time off and do whatever you want, but you will mainly only have 2 outfits, that being the maid and a more revealing outfit. For the bunny girl, technically a secretary handling me ends and other things. Momo. Well, I am used to being in a rich household, so I don't know the first thing about helping around the house and all that, so. Momo grabs the bunny girl outfit. Jiro just shrugs before grabbing the maid uniform. They both head into the bathroom and put it on when they come out. Deku gives them both a nod. Momo looks at Deku, well, seeming to expect something. Deku. What's wrong, Momo? Momo. There's no tail for this. I mean, if I were wearing the outfit I should have the full thing, right? Deku. That one doesn't have a tail. Momo hesitantly turns around to reveal a small slit on her ass where a tail should go. Rei. I can help with that. Rei walks up to Momo, snaps her fingers while creating a butt plug with a small spiky ball on the end resembling a rabbit's tail. Momo's eyes widen as Rei slips it through the slit and into Momo's ass. Momo falls to the ground while breathing heavy. Her face is slightly blushed as her eyes look slitted. Jiro. Can I have one? Momo looks at Jiro surprised. Rei creating a cat-tail version but that resembles a lizard that moves. Jiro doesn't hesitate and remove her panties before sticking it in her ass. Deku. I didn't know you will like that. Jiro. I'm kind of a blunt masochistic. I'm not sure if it's because my mum has a somewhat of a dragon quirk, and before you ask, we are not related to the dragon hero. Deku. I thought your earphone jacks came from your mum. Jiro. 2 mums, one has a dick, and because of her dragon she kind of becomes slightly aroused when stuff is meant to hurt. Deku pulls his notebook out of thinner, not even opening his inventory, and starts scribbling down in it. Deku. Anything else I need to know about your partial dragon generics? Jiro. I kind of have a heat cycle, but it's to the state where I can't think straight and my forks get clouded with dirty ones. And well, I don't have any dragon parts or anything like that, but there is a chance I might get them in the future or whatnot. Deku. Very interesting, good to know. Jiro just casually gives Deku once over before heading to clean. 2 hours pass and Deku is sat in front of the doctor. Deku. Is nice to find me. Meet you, Dr. Gray. Lucia. Just call me Lucia, I'm American. At birth I kind of had the habit of going by first names. Deku. Well, Lucia, I'm gonna get straight to the point. You're a good doctor, I can tell you that much, plus with your recent ability awakening allowing you to practically into the heal any injuries as long as they're not instantaneous death. Deku watches as her hand instinctively twitches, suggesting as she has multiple quirks and one of them being combat orientated towards a 5-finger activation. Deku. Well, this is how it's going to go. See, my crew is a little chaotic and we happen to get injured now and again, so I want you, that simple. Lucia. Sorry, but you're not the only people that I get injured in this building. Deku. How about this? I'd give you medical supplies, food and water. You continue what you're doing. Lucia slowly walks up to Deku, letting out a soft growl resembling a dragon. She tries to show her dominance, but Deku stands at and just stares her down without even showing a hint of concern. Before she could say anything, Deku grabs her by the arm, spins her over and places her face down against the table. Deku. So how many quirks do you really have? Deku's voice is intimidating as he places a blade to the back of her neck. Lucia. 7 Q quirks. And my awakened abilities. Deku. Stay put or else. Deku can send her body relax and her instincts submitting to him. Let's go with her and open the portal to step through, ending up right in front of All for One. All for One, you seem to have a habit of dropping in, so what can I help you with? Deku, Lucia Gray, bring any bells? All for One, yes. Yes she does. She's actually around 150 years old. I met her back when quirks were still looking down upon. She was a quirkless stalker who was helping some kids, so I gave her a quirk that would accelerate some of these healing at the cost of her stamina, but as a downside stopped her aging, and eventually she found me around 4 years ago asking for mock works. Back then I was thinking about the Nomu Kager and well kind of was hoping to turn her into a pure healing based Nomu show. On top of her healing quirk I gave her that could heal anything up to a broken limb within a few hours. Then I gave her a Dragon Quest Multicisly, a metal dragon quest, and her body style to more from their next quirk I gave her was kind of like a gamer's vision where she can see the injury and while, and a few other odd bits and bobs, as well as a 5-finger activation quirk that allowed her to take apart matter and reconstruct it, but she could only do it on anything in a 1-meter radius and it has to be 5-finger activation. Deku, well I think I know why she didn't turn into a Nomu now. All for One, I'm listening. Deku, your quirk allows you to transfer quirks to somebody else but not the genetic code in order to use it properly, meaning that if a genetic code isn't possible they or end up disfiguring like what happens with Nomu, but if you add too many quirks into one body you get the same outcome, and if you try merging two quirks that are not compatible the body will rip itself apart. All for One, of course I already know of this, but what are you playing at? Deku, the answers were dragon quirks. See info. Dragons are creatures that could have a variety of powers, so giving either a wall or any animal-based ability then throwing a set skills onto it, the quirks will unlike before rip each other apart. The dragon quirk or act like a conduit absorbing the other ones, creating, well in this case, a healing dragon quirk. Deku can see where All for One's eyes would be widen in both realization and surprise. Deku, that would explain how One for All works and how your body is since being ripped apart with all of the quirks in you, since One for All is a mix of a stockpiling and transfer. Stockpile technically means either something that builds up over time or builds up that's being transferred. Mix that with a transfer work. You practically just gave some the rechargeable battery that gets more charge the more you pass it along. And All for One, aka your quirk, its main function is to take quirks and store them, but in order for you to use them your quirk would have to have a second quirk built into it, allowing perfect combinations, allowing your genetics to recognize any quirk as its own body or like a little capsule sealed inside of the quirk that allows you to use it with not having the backside of the quirks merging. Nana, how the hell did we not know that? I mean, it makes perfect sense now. This entire time we've been thinking of it like a torch being passed down, and the more you pass it down the brighter it gets, but in actuality it's like a battery, and that's how our quirks and consciousness are saved inside of it. Remove the battery from an item where their conscious has been saved, the battery, the power inside of it would disappear, explaining how only quirkless can have One for All without dying of old age by time they hit 30. All for One, you figure that out by me telling you how I gave somebody multiple quirks. Deku, well maybe next time don't think of quirks as well something in your genetics, think of it like a combination lock. Too many it won't work, too little won't work, but you get the right combination of quirks. Like it's like giving somebody fire resistance, pyrokinesis, and some other minor fireworks. They would all merge, creating the ultimate fire person without risking the body turning into Nomu. Deku opens a portal before leaving. All for One, well Izuku, it looks like you will become my successor. Hope you enjoy all of my quirks and what they're capable of. Deku steps out at his apartment. Lucia is that on the couch. Deku, going to play nice but I don't care anymore, so this is how it's your mind, got it? Lucia just nod. Deku starts hearing banging on his door. He pulls out a gun and walks to the door. Deku immediately pulls out his phone and immediately taps into live footage of the front door to see a group of guys getting ready to break in. Deku drops a flashbang as soon as it goes off. Deku groaning and screaming from the other side. Deku opens the door and swings a sword, chopping all of them in half. Deku stores the bodies before closing the door. A few hours later a knock has heard on Deku's door. Deku sees it's Marinette, Wednesday and Eri. Deku lets them in. Marinette, explain, why did you leave this little one on our doorstep? Deku, are you way better looking after kids than me, and quite frankly I don't know the first thing about looking after somebody else. Marinette, but I ain't complaining, she's the best thing to happen to us. Wednesday might not be as vocal but she's also on the same page. Deku, what's the real reason why you're here? Because you won't just show up and announce for no reason at the same time you would. Wednesday, the heat season's coming up and she's going to get a little feisty, and well we don't want Eri to see it. Deku, sorry can't have her here. Issei, Marinette, well he was going to be our second option, overweight so I guess so. Marinette leaves with Eri. Deku stands there while looking at Wednesday. Deku, need something? Wednesday, she wants to try pet play with me. Deku, who's the master? Wednesday gives him a serious expression and Deku just quickly shakes his head. Deku, I don't currently have anything that you could use. Wednesday, no, I want some advice. Deku, I'm listening. Wednesday, any ideas on where I should start? Deku, I ain't good when it comes to this. Ray, melt wax on the ass. Deku and Wednesday look to see Ray walking down the stairs, with Scorch crawling on all fours. Wednesday, you're an expert. Ray, I know more than I alone, so how about I teach you some things? Wednesday, I wouldn't mind the hands-on lesson, but I can't. Ray, well, make sure to treat her as rough as possible and make sure to target her pleasure spots with a hint of pain. Oh, and don't be afraid to throw in some naughty talk, it will definitely get her motor running. And one of my personal favorite things to do, make her feel like she's on the edge, like she's gonna climax any second, and just leave her on suspense. Let's just say you'll have her wrapped around your fingers like a puppy in no time. Jiro, oh, I don't be afraid to get a little violent when it comes to chains and whips, and make sure to target some very sensitive parts like the clitoris and the nipples. Nana, oh, don't get me started on a coat hanger in the piss holes. Deku lights out a calf and such, choking on air for a second. Wednesday, what's wrong? Deku, remember that person I was telling you about, the somewhat of a ghost living inside of my head? Well, she just said about using a hunger in the piss holes. Ray, I haven't tried that one yet. Well, I know what I'll be trying on my pet later. Deku, what the fuck?
Reason why it stopped here is because there are no more parts. So yeah, just enjoy what's here.